Hey, what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. Today we are doing the breakdown video for the Jose Ramirez versus Jose Pedraza Junior Welterweight Championship fight that's taking place Friday, March 4th on ESPN. I'm actually hoping to go to this fight with my wife. We'll see what happens. Should be a good one. These two guys, two top 10 junior welterweights right now at 140 pounds. I believe I got Ramirez at number 2. I believe Pedraza is sitting back at like number 8. And these two guys are trying to move up the ladder to get in contention for a world title. Ramirez wants to bounce back from the undisputed title fight loss, where he lost the 2 belts that he had and suffered the first loss of his career to Josh Taylor. And Jose Pedraza wants the mission of becoming a 3-weight world champion. So this is a big crossroads fight of 2 former world champs, and it really has a lot of significance to it, and I'm really looking forward to it. And it's a good style clash in my opinion. So that's what's at stake here. These two guys, Ramirez doesn't want to lose 2 in a row, especially in his hometown. He does not want to lose in Fresno, fighting in Fresno, California. And Pedraza doesn't want to get put back on the chopping block again. He wants to he wants to get right back in the mix, and this fight for him would be a huge victory. So we'll see. Well, let's start with the questions that I ask. I focus on the favorite, and then I move to the underdog. And the questions that I always ask are, I ask about 5-6 questions a piece. I talk about what each fighter has done rolling into the fight, what their style they can do to win. Can they win by knockout decision? What does it mean for them if they win or lose? I ask that about both. And then 2 questions: is it better for boxing if the favorite or the underdog wins? And then who I believe is going to win the fight. So let's kick it off with the favorite, the former unified champion, Jose Ramirez. Rolling into this fight, well, he's coming off the loss to Josh Taylor, where he challenged to become the undisputed champion at 140 pounds. Took a couple knockdowns in that fight, but got back up, and in the second half of the fight, really, closed out strong, fought hard, made the fight relatively close, but it wasn't, I still believe Taylor won comfortably, but those 2 knockdowns helped, absolutely. I think I had Taylor winning 7 or 8 rounds, plus the 2 knockdowns, so that gives him about a 3 or 4 point margin of victory in my book. Ramirez, though he fought hard, he barely survived that second knockdown. He got hurt badly in that one. But, Ramirez got nothing to hang his head about. He lost to a truly great fighter in Josh Taylor. And Ramirez, you look at his fights prior to that. In August of 2020, he took on Victor Postal, and, who was a former world champion, and got tested in this one, but he fought his ass off and scored a close majority decision win. Then you go back to July of 2019, he faced off in a unification bout against previously undefeated Maurice Hooker, fought tooth and nail, stopped Maurice Hooker in the biggest win of his career in the 6th round to retain the unified title. And then prior to that, I'm going to reach back to the beginning of 2019, a full 3 years. He took on, God damn it, drawing a blank now. He took on Jose Cepeda and walked away, closing the 12th round out strong, walked away with a close majority decision win. So 2 of those 3 fighters, top 5 guys. The win over Maurice Hooker, Hooker's moved up to welterweight, but if he was still banging at 140, that would be probably a top 5 to top 10 fighter right there in Hooker. So, Jose Ramirez really has fought a who's who of people the last 3 years, and he's staying right back in there, taking out Pedraza, who is it's a risky fight, but Jose Ramirez is not a guy that wants to take a cupcake. He wants to fight the best, and this is a good opponent to come back against right here. And I think Ramirez is fully focused. He's fighting at home. He's going to be pumped up, and we'll see how he looks in this fight after 9 months and the first loss of his career to Josh Taylor. What kind of style does Ramirez need to have to win this fight? Pretty simple. I think Ramirez needs to use the fact that he is the naturally bigger man. Ramirez is a big guy at 140 pounds. You know, people were talking about him possibly moving to 147 prior to the last fight. But after the loss, people continue to talk about it. I still think, you know, it's an option. But he's a big guy at 140. Now, he has a two-inch height advantage. And he actually has a disadvantage in arm length. As Pedraza has a 1.5-inch reach advantage on him. But he is a naturally bigger guy. Remember, Pedraza won a title at 130 pounds and 135. This is his third weight class. Ramirez needs to use the weight advantage. He needs to take Pedraza, put the pressure on him. We know Ramirez can take a shot, and we know Pedraza is not a big power puncher at 140. So he needs to come at Pedraza, but don't go in there guns a-blazing, leaving his chin exposed to where he loses a bunch of rounds, and in case he can't knock out Pedraza late, you know, don't give away a lot of rounds. He needs to come in there, put the pressure on, hit the body, take Pedraza into the late rounds and try to drown him. That should be his strategy right there to try to win this fight. Now, what does Jose Pedraza need to do to win this fight? And, I'm sorry. That was Ramirez. So, can Jose Ramirez win this fight by knockout? And I absolutely think he can. I think he can hurt Pedraza at any moment and put him to bed. I really do. You know, he has that sneaky kind of power that he can just land one punch. He did it against Maurice Hooker out of nowhere. He landed that big left hand, and then boom, Hooker was out within seconds. He was done. Like, the referee stopped the fight. So Ramirez has that kind of power, and I think he needs to use the angles, hit the body, and yeah, he definitely can win by knockout. Now, can he win a decision? Yeah, I think he can do that too. But Pedraza is gonna try to build himself to outbox Jose Ramirez. I think that's gonna be a style he needs to try to negate. So that's why I say use the angles and hit the body. If he can do that, he can get rounds in the bag. And if Pedraza can go the distance, Ramirez got a shot at winning. But I definitely think he can win a knockout or a decision here. Now, what does a win mean for Jose Ramirez in this fight over Jose Pedraza? It's not going to be the biggest win of his career, but it's going to be the start of his next run. And that's important. He wants to stay at 140 and become the world champion again at 140. There's other big fights and options out there. And in order to do that, he needs to get through Jose Pedraza, and I think he needs to look good doing it. So a win means a lot to Jose Ramirez. And so he's coming in hungry, and a win's going to mean a lot. Now, what does it mean for Ramirez if he loses this fight? Wow. He drops into the back of the top 10 most likely, maybe top 5 still, but the back of the top 5. And it's really going to hurt him to lose back-to-back fights. It really is. You know, if he loses to Pedraza, it's really going to be detrimental for his career. And he's really going to have to consider moving up to 147 pounds, most likely. So a loss would really hurt him. Let's move on now. We're going to move on to the underdog. Former 2-division world champion, Jose Pedraza. Now, rolling into this fight, Pedraza's last 3 years, you know, or so, you know, in 2019, he was bouncing back off of the loss to Vasily Lomachenko in 2018. You know, that was a tough one. I think he won a fight after in the second half of 2019, and then in 2020, he won a fight, and then he ran into Jose Cepeda at the end of 2019 as he was trying to make a case here at 140, and Jose Cepeda completely outboxed him and outclassed him. No questions asked, went in there, did his thing, and worked him, you know. But since then, he's won 3 fights in a row, you know, and he's looked better and better at 140. He stayed determined. He actually fought twice in 2020. He took on a couple credible guys. He fought Mikel Lespierre, whose only loss was to, I believe, Maurice Hooker for the WBO title. So he fought Mikel Lespierre and completely outworked him and outboxed him, got a decision. That was a nice one. Then he followed that up and took on Javier Molina, who was a decent fighter at 140 and got a clean decision there. And then in his last bout, in 2021, he took on undefeated prospect Julian Rodriguez. There's a lot of people that thought Rodriguez was going to beat Pedraza. Pedraza put hands on him. He absolutely broke down the younger fighter, and Rodriguez dominated him and stopped him in eight rounds as Rodriguez didn't answer the bell. So, you know, Pedraza is a crafty veteran. His nickname is the Sniper for a reason. He can box. He's got enough power to keep you honest, and he's hungry. So he really wants to become a 3-division world champion. You know, this is a guy, his only career defeats. He's lost 3 times in his career, but he lost to Gervonta Davis at 130 pounds in a fight where he decided to slug with Davis, which was a mistake, and he got knocked out. His second loss to Vasily Lomachenko in 2018, he got completely dominated at lightweight over 12 rounds. You know, a lot of people think that Lomachenko was injured that night, but nonetheless, he went the distance and he got beat, but he fought hard. And then his third defeat was to Jose Cepeda, who right now is like the number 3 140 pounder in the world right now. So, you know, he's coming into this fight hungry. He's fought and lost to the best, but he's actually on a nice little 3-fight win streak here, and he's motivated. He definitely wants to win. He's going on somebody else's territory into Fresno, where Ramirez is from, but he's not coming to lose this fight. He's not just the opponent here. So let's get that clear. Now, what does Pedraza need to do to win this fight? Pedraza better be ready to move. This is stick and move at its finest right here. He needs to not let Ramirez get him in one spot and unload. He needs to box. He needs to use the angles. He needs to hit and not get hit and move. If he can do that, and if he can do it for 12 rounds, I think it's possible Pedraza could outbox Ramirez. He might be able to catch him and hurt him a little bit, but definitely outbox him if he can stick to that strategy. He gets into a slugfest against a naturally bigger man, it's going to hurt him, and I think it'd be a mistake. So we'll see what happens, but I like Jose Pedraza, and I do think he's a very live underdog heading into this fight. Now, can Pedraza win by knockout? You know, I never want to say never, but Ramirez does have a really good chin. But I also didn't think Josh Taylor could hurt him, and Josh Taylor almost knocked him out. So you never know. I mean, Pedraza isn't Taylor, obviously. Taylor started at 140, Pedraza's moved up. So I don't think he can knock Jose Ramirez out. But again, I think Pedraza has power to keep a guy honest at 140. And you never know. You get caught with the right punch, you never know. But I'm going to lean towards the less likely. But can Pedraza win a decision against Ramirez? And my answer is yes. I think he can. He's got to fight the right fight. He's got to force Ramirez into chasing him and boxing, as opposed to letting Ramirez get him stationary and then unload on him. But if he can fight the right fight and stick and move, yeah, I absolutely believe Pedraza can win. And if he fights that kind of fight, he might win by a big margin. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I do believe Pedraza can win a decision here. Now, what does this fight mean for Jose Pedraza if he upsets Jose Ramirez? And it's going to mean the world to Jose Pedraza. This would be most likely his career best win. Even though he's won world titles in 2 different weight classes, you know, maybe you go with the win over Ray Beltran to capture the WBO lightweight title. Maybe you want to go with that one a little bit more, especially if it led to the Lomachenko fight. But I don't know. Beating Jose Ramirez, who's still in his physical prime, you know, number 2 in the division right now, I think it'd be the biggest win of his career, and it'd be in Ramirez's territory, you know, hometown. So I absolutely think this means the world to Jose Pedraza. It throws him right into the title mix with a win, and it would be huge. Now, what does it mean for Pedraza if he loses? Well, I don't think a lot of people are expecting him to win, but what does it mean for him if he loses? One, it's going to depend how he loses. If he goes out there and he gets his ass whipped and he gets knocked out, then people are just going to be like, well, he's just not on that level. But if he fights hard and loses a close fight, he could get right back in the mix, you know? People want to fight a guy with a name who's a former champion. So it's going to depend how he goes down, how he loses, you know, and how that works. Now, I asked the question, is it better for boxing if if Pedraza or Ramirez win this fight. And the truth is, it's better for boxing if Ramirez wins. He's still young. He's still got the talent. He's got a following. And, you know, this is a guy that's believable that can move up to 147. If Pedraza were to pull off the upset, I don't think there's many people that would consider him to beat a guy like, you know, to really be able to be effective against Josh Taylor or somebody along that level. So for me, I think it's better for boxing if Jose Ramirez wins this fight. Now, what's my prediction on this one? My prediction is I got Jose Ramirez winning this fight. I think he's going to wear down Pedraza, and I think he's going to stop him. It could go either way. I think Pedraza's got a decent chance of pulling off the upset, but I believe Ramirez is coming in hungry in his hometown. He's going to break down Pedraza. I think his size advantage is going to be significant, and I think that's going to be the difference. He'll take him into the second half of the fight if it gets there, and he stops him. But again, Pedraza, if he fights the perfect kind of fight, he could pull off the upset here. We just got to wait and see what happens. But that's what I got. That's my breakdown video for Ramirez versus Pedraza, Friday, March 4th on ESPN. Don't miss it. Big fight at 140. I hope you guys enjoyed it. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.